Hi guys, welcome to or back to, I don't have any of my rings on. Let's fix that. Okay, I feel like myself again. I don't sleep in my rings. I don't know if that's something you guys do, but I just don't do it, so I do have to put them all on again in the morning, and I have to remember to do that. Anyway, that's not what you're here for. Hey, I'm Ellen if you're new here, and I make content around London life and fashion, mainly focused on slow fashion, but at the moment I'm absolutely loving talking about trends. And I didn't want to do what everyone else is doing and talk about autumn winter trends when we're in autumn winter. Like, why would I do that? That would be normal, sensible content that will probably get quite good views. Whereas we've just had spring summer 2025 fashion month, which obviously happened in September. So my brain, for some reason, because I've been watching all the shows, not for some reason, for quite a clear reason, is fully on fashion mode and is already thinking about what everyone's gonna be wearing in spring summer 2025. So I wanted to discuss that. And I wanted to use 3 different shows to talk about 3 different types of fashion, girl slash guy, that I think we're gonna be seeing in spring summer 25. I love like looking forward when it comes to fashion. It's all like, it is good fun obviously talking about like the month that we're in, or the season that we're in, and like what everyone's wearing, what everyone's doing. That's great fun, but like we can see that we're here, we're living, we're breathing it. I always think it's like more fun to look forward and see what the trends the shows were showing and how I think that's going to reflect into our fashion in the coming 6 months. So without further ado, I'm going to start with my first show, which I loved, which is Miu Miu Spring Summer 25, which was shown at Paris Fashion Week this year. And it's perfect. I have been a Miu Miu stan for years, for a really, really long time. And Miu Miu, I feel, has always been like Prada's little baby sister. It has always sort of sat like back in the shadows of Prada, but been like its weird baby sister with this like quirky, cool, only some people really get her kind of edge. And obviously a few years ago they did the catwalk show, which was the little mini skirts and the cropped shirts and the blazers and the layering, and the big branding, which skyrocketed Miu Miu into like mainstream appeal and success. And they've really kind of continued with that sort of styling until now. I feel like Miu Miu has brought its cool weird girl edge back for this season, and I am obsessed with it. I feel like it's done this really cool thing where it's got its cool Miu Miu weird kind of what the hell are they doing-ness to it, kind of mixed in with this like it girl brand that they've sort of coined over the past few seasons with the like obvious branding, the very like wearable sort of consumable pieces, and they've mashed them together to create what I'm coining the weird it girl. That's what I think we're gonna get. We're gonna get a weird it girl for spring summer 2025. I feel like we have her already. She's here, she's across, like, you all know like those kind of weird quirky it girls we have all over social media, and I think we're gonna see a real rise in people emulating that aesthetic, and I think it's gonna be really inspired by this Miu Miu collection. This Miu Miu collection played on elements of like childhood and these like childhood silhouettes with like this retro inspired kind of sportswear styling that I do sort of think that we are seeing some kind of cool girls doing already, but like I think this is going to catapult it into the mainstream for sure. They also played on this like idea of like misinformation and the media, which I think is really interesting because I think there's a massive rise in all of our information coming from like TikTok, social media, different social media platforms that I don't necessarily think is like a fashion trend per se, but I love when like shows play on like the social aspects of things that are going on around us, and the way they did that was all like sort of set in like a printing house, which was really, really cool. Miuccia Prada is doing like beautiful things for both brands. I love her like design philosophy. I think she's absolutely fantastic, and this collection I think is probably one of my favorite Miu Miu collections I've ever seen in my life. There was so much sort of like unconventional styling with like jumpers like wrapped around and like swimsuits styled with skirts, and it was just so, it is just so playful and fun and like weird. Like your first reaction to it is like, what? Which I love. I love that about fashion in general. I love when somebody puts something really cool and interesting together and your reaction is like, I don't get it, but I love it. Chef's kiss. And one of my favourite parts of the show was the fact that William Dafoe was like the last person to walk down the catwalk, which I just thought was like this really interesting like kind of twist on like being at the forefront of like captivating design, but also at the forefront of cultural commentary as well. I think he's really hot like in the sort of acting world at the moment. Oh, has been obviously for years. He's incredible, but he's also putting his name to a lot of like weirder projects, like him in Poor Things, what's the happiness one, the new Yorgos movie as well. He's putting his name to some really beautiful and weird stuff like he always has done, and I think pairing Miu Miu with that and being like, this is a really cool weird collection with a guy that puts his name to loads of really cool, really friggin' weird, sorry, the camera decided to run out of space. So anyway, we're moving on to the next sort of trend inspired by a show, and the next one we're going for is, I'm going to use the Chloé show, and I want to be really careful around using the tone boho and bohemian, but I don't know what other terms I'm meant to use to describe Chloé, so I feel more comfortable using the term like 70s inspired. I think obviously there's a lot of appropriation that's centered around the term bohemian and boho, and the fact that we use it to describe this sort of nomadic, hippie inspired way of dressing that doesn't 100% fit with what it truly represents doesn't make me feel 100% comfortable. So I'm gonna go with like 70s inspired kind of glam. That's what I'm gonna go with for the Chloé show, and I think that is gonna be a insanely huge trend for spring summer 25. I actually think this aesthetic, the 70s actually in general, is gonna be huge for for 2025 in general across the board. I think we're gonna start seeing it sort of seep in a little more in winter of this year, and I think it's just going to escalate up until summer next year. I think we saw it throughout summer this year as well. But Chloé, I mean, Chloé's always having a moment. Chloé's been huge for ages, but this show was really, really beautiful, and I think it's really going to sort of elevate Chloé to like the next step and like even more mainstream kind of mass appeal. I think one of the biggest things with Chloé, like Miu Miu, is that they have a whole outfit policy, which means that when celebrities pull from brands like Miu Miu and Chloé, I think Miu Miu have had theirs for quite some time and Chloé have only just established their whole outfit policy. It's got an actual name, but you know what I mean. That basically when celebrities pull items from either Chloé or Miu Miu collections, they have to wear the full outfit as it was seen on the runway, and this can either elevate brands in the way it did for Miu Miu, or it can be the death of brands. And for me personally, I think it really elevates Chloé, because I think Chloé pieces sometimes can fall into kind of an outfit and the celebrity is at the forefront of the clothes, whereas I think when you enforce a whole outfit policy or like a full outfit policy, the clothes start to be the bigger personality than the celebrity sometimes. And I think we're seeing this hugely with the Chloé girls of this season, that it's so impactful when they're wearing Chloé. Who is it? I never know her name, it's really bad, but she's the girl from Normal People, is obviously wearing a lot of Chloé and is kind of the very much the Chloé girl of the season. She's pulling it off so beautifully and she looks amazing. We're all gonna be getting those like bouncy fringes back from like last year when Sabrina Carpenter obviously did the like 1950s fringe, but it's going to be like messy fringes, messy hair. I would go as far to say, I know I haven't even talked about the show yet, I'm sorry, but I would go as far to say that I truly think the polished bouncy blow, we're done with that for next summer. It's all going to be about like very like floaty beach babe, messy, going back to the tongs, like doing it with a straightener or doing it with a wand, or even just like the plaiting of hair. We're going back to like those curls. I truly think that we're moving away. I think with every single brand doing a copy of the Air Wrap, it's gonna kill it. We're gonna be done with the bouncy blows before we know it. We all know a tongue curl holds better than a bouncy like Dyson Airwrap blow. We're going back to that, and I think we saw that throughout this collection with the hair and the styling of the hair as well. Do you want to come up, Straubs, or do you just want to be in the room? But let's actually talk about the collection itself. So what we saw in the collection was a whole host of crochet, vintage florals, this beautiful, like almost like effortless French tailoring that Chloé does so perfectly. We had these like tailored jackets with the puff sleeves and like the long silhouette coats, paired with this very like laid back, relaxed like lace and crochet that like just makes this perfect amalgamation of like cool 70s vintage aesthetic. I truly feel like this collection is almost really modernizing Chloé. Like I feel like it stayed true to its like maison roots, but then it had these like fun kind of like unexpected elements, like of this beautiful shell belt and this like flamingo covered swimsuit that were just absolutely stunning. And I love that they were so unexpected for Chloé. Like you just wouldn't think shell belt when you think of Chloé, but it's also like almost kind of bringing this like chic beach, French beach playful feel to the brand that I don't really think we've seen before. And I think the new, what's the new designer called? Kamal? Oh, is that Kamali? I never know how to say her name, but she's bringing some real sort of fun in modernism into Chloé that I feel like the brand really needed. And yeah, overall I think we're seeing a cute sort of 1970s floral vintage princess for spring summer 2020. Oh, that's what you're gonna do in the back of the video, are you? And I don't think I could make this video without talking about the row and the modern classic elegant elevated cool girl, wow that's a mouthful, that this collection is going to inspire. We've seen the row go from strength to strength over season to season and definitely gain more kind of widespread interest and respect. I don't think I've heard the words the row Margot ever so much in my life as I have in the past few months. That bag is obviously now being duped. That bag is like said to be the new Hermes Birkin. I actually don't love the row Margot, but it's just not my style. I'm a maximalist through and through, and the row is one of the most minimalist chic brands, and this collection showed at Paris Fashion Week as well, and it elevated and set that expectation even more so than we've seen before. The Olsen twins have really cemented this as a true high luxury brand. I would say it sits up there with Hermes, Loro Piano, those sorts of like level of luxury that like is unattainable to the majority of people. Like the row, I think the Margot is like around £6,000 for a beautifully crafted leather bag, of course, but the price point is high. A white t-shirt from the row, probably 900, a grand. Like they're very expensive pieces, and they are so elevated. The styling and the cuts and the shapes that these girls put together is just second to none, and I understand why it has its sort of acclaimed accreditation, and I think that it's going to inspire a lot of the way we dress, especially in spring summer 2025. I think we're seeing it coming through now even. I really think even things like Molly May's Maybe are trying to position themselves in this sort of like high-end high street version of the row almost, where their pieces are set. Obviously there's a lot of controversy around that, that's not what we're going into in this video, but the fact that she was like pairing her pieces with like an Hermes Birkin, everything was very neutral in colour palette, the oversized yet tailored aspect, we're already seeing the inspirations coming through in a more sort of high street way, which is really interesting to see, I feel. And this collection was really stunning. It featured obviously the beautiful minimalist palette that they normally use, so a lot of greys, beige, and then also had this beautiful oversized tailoring that we are seeing everywhere, and I think is only going to grow in popularity and interest, because their stuff is sort of quintessentially classic, but with a real sort of playfulness to it that a lot of brands haven't really nailed, and I think they've nailed it so well. I also just think the way that they style their pieces and collections is so beautifully effortless as well. We see accessories, but they're always small, minimal, and I love their sort of lack of branding. Like, they are an if you know, you know brand, which also sits amongst these sorts of other very, very luxury pieces. And I think, again, seeing this with the reaction to the Molly May collection, people are moving towards wanting to under consume, but consume things that they know are going to last them forever and sort of at least stand the test of time. And people want to consume less to have things that they love and use forever. And I think like the row really fits into a world where we want less, but we're looking for like this elevated quality that they're providing. And I think people are going to try and start to emulate what the Olsen twins have done with the row in other brands and in different ways, and people are going to be more conscious in terms of their shopping habits. Obviously not everyone can afford the row, but people can think more consciously in terms of the pieces they're buying and having one amazing piece rather than a whole haul of different things for every season. Having one amazing white t-shirt, one structured blazer that fits beautifully, one beautiful leather handbag that you wear all the time becomes your signature piece, and then you keep repeating it and repeating it throughout season to season. And I think we can see that with what the row are doing with their collections. So they're my 3 absolutely adored shows from spring summer 2025, and then they are the ways I think they're going to impact the 3 types of fashion girly through spring summer 2025. So I really hope you enjoyed the video, guys. It was another long rambly one, but hopefully I was flashing loads of pictures at you. And if you did, please remember to hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye guys.